Start.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing today?
Good.
Wonderful, wonderful. Tell me something good. What's happening in your world you're excited about?
Go Rays, opening day.
It is today. Yeah, normally I'd be there, but I'm not. I'm with you, and I'm happier this way. Because I'm a Yankee fan, and the Rays usually beat up my Yankees, so I can't take it. So tell me something good. It is opening day. What else? What else are you excited about in your world? Hey, John, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How you doing, Gary?
Wonderful, wonderful. Long time no see.
Yes.
How's things going for you?
Good. I have a listing going live in 2 or 3 days on Clearwater Point on Clearwater Beach, and we're waiting for the vacation renter to move out, but I've raised the list price a couple times, waiting in the interim while we wait for this vacation to end. And I'm thinking of raising it again. I don't know. I don't want to outsmart ourselves, but that's the situation. The seller's not pressuring me to, but I'm looking at those numbers. They're up in Jersey. They don't quite aren't. They understand it's hot, but
Yeah.
In the
I
past,
just
I've
raised
done it.
my numbers too. I actually went on a listing appointment last week and started at one point, and then I called her. I'm having another meeting with her today, and I'm up in the price too, because in Dunedin, 3 bedrooms, pool house, 2 bathroom, 2 car garage, you can't find anything under 400,000. Nothing.
So is that what's causing you to raise the price? Of
Yeah.
lack of availability of competition?
Yes.
Or
It-
what are the comps saying? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I think, in my opinion, of course, the comps are a little bit behind.
Right. They always
Because
will.
what I think is happening, I just told my mother I was in a meeting, and doesn't she call me? I think what's happening is that it's just not catching up fast enough. And so yesterday, because I recheck it daily, and because we're not active yet, and the least expensive 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom home with a pool in the Dunedin 3468 area code there is 600,000.
Huh. Right.
So I thought, well, we're not going in at 280 then, or 380.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, the market will tell you pretty quickly. And
Yeah.
things that, and things are, you can tell pretty quickly whether it's being received or not by, it's still the same old mantra, right? According to NAR, after every 8 to 10 showing, you should have at least one offer. And if you
Right.
don't have any offers, it could mean you're the bridesmaid instead of the bride,
Yeah, I told her we'd give it 5 days, and we'll see, because this market in Dunedin, nothing is staying on the market for more than 3. So, if it's priced right.
Right.
So I told her we'd give it 5 days max, and then if we had to readjust, we would do it, but I don't think we're gonna have to.
Okay.
Positive thinking.
There you go. Well, virtually everything, and we're gonna look at this a little later, in Pinellas County, all the way up to like 800,000 is less than a 1-month supply of inventory. That's crazy. Absolutely nuts. So yes, but the main thing, the risk that you take by continuing to raise the price is you may put them in a price point that is a little too high, and they may miss buyers that are looking up to that point. So say for example, it's worth, instead of 380, it's worth 400 now, but you listed at 450. Any buyer looking in realtor looking up to 400 won't
Yeah.
see it, right? So
Right.
that's what you got to kind of consider price positioning as far as visibility.
Yeah,
Price
we
positioning
figured
creates
400 on the dot would be good, because I didn't want to do 399, because then I'm going to miss the 400 to 450 people,
There
and
you
I
go.
didn't want to miss the 350 to 400 people.
Perfect. Good thinking. Good thinking.
Thank you, Gary.
That helped
Once
you,
in a
John?
while, I get lucky.
No, you're right on the money, right on the money. So what's driving your thoughts to bring it up too high? Not too high, but higher.
My thoughts?
Yeah, what caused you to want to rethink the pricing a couple of different times?
Well, Clearwater Point, those 4 mid-rises and all the 3-story clusters, nothing there. There's nothing active, and everything's under pending or sold. And there's a lot of it's a lot of units back there. That's probably, I don't know, 1,000 units back there, and
Uh-huh.
there's nothing.
Nothing available.
Nothing. And even the last two stragglers that I thought were priced astronomically finally went under contract maybe 3 weeks ago. And the last two that I thought, wow, those are going to have to reduce their boom, boom, under contract the same week.
Well, there you go. Yeah,
And the other thing too, Gary, I know that these customers, they want to go into something nicer on Clearwater Beach. It's going to cost them $1 million, you know, Mandalay Bay, Bell Harbor. So they're going to get hit on that end.
sure.
But I have outsmarted myself not long ago doing this. I mean, like 2 years ago and a year ago,
Well, the thing is we're not back a year ago or 2 years ago. These are unbelievable times. You know, we're going to find out in Pinellas County and in Pasco County later on when we look at the data. In March, we have the lowest amount of inventory that we've ever had and the highest amount of sales in a month. At the same time, we have the lowest amount of inventory. That's kind of mind-boggling. In Hillsborough, I think it was the third highest month in sales, but it's still the lowest in active listings. Just means that everything that's hitting the market for the most part is flying off the market. So in that kind of a situation, we represent the seller. We want to take it as high as it can go. And if there's financing involved, have everybody prepared for that, because there could be a problem with the appraisal. Are you guys running into any problems with appraisals? You are?
Not as bad now as I was about eight or 9 months ago. Was way worse than it is now,
Okay.
in my
Sure.
opinion.
Kurt, are you running into any problems with appraisals at all?
Knock on wood, Gary, very few. And the ones that I'm running into are like, a couple thousand here and there.
Uh-huh. So
The worst one that I had was 15,000 and they met halfway and we still closed it.
okay.
But there are certain things that we could do. If they're putting down 20%
Mhm.
on a home, they don't have to put down that 20% without having to pay that PMI. So we have a tool that'll show exactly what what their makeup period is. If they're going to pay over the appraisal, let's say that break-even point's 3 years, well, they could take 10% of that 20% and put it towards the overage and still buy that home.
Right.
And, we could do what we call upfront mortgage insurance. So they could pay for that upfront and not have to include that in their monthly mortgage payment.
Well, that's great. That's a great tool to have, especially in this market where you run into that scenario.
Yeah, there's options out there for your buyers that they may not know that they have.
Right. So that's a conversation you want to have with buyers in your buyer consultation and with sellers in the seller consultation. To let them know, prepare them for multiple offers and prepare buyers for multiple offers and what it's going to take to win and compete and what it's going to take to keep the house if that they have under contract, because smart agents have backup offers in place. And most of them don't though, but smart agents have backup offers in place. And if something goes awry or a buyer is trying to, get the property under contract and start negotiating after that, they could really risk losing the property. So you want to prepare them for those types of things in your buyer consult up front. Make sense? Good. What else? All right. Tell me something good. What else is going on in your world?
This is Corin. My very first deal, which I closed the end of March, was with a buyer, and we made 2 offers that we didn't win, but the third one was the charm, and the woman really wanted to sell it to them. She's an animal lover. They wrote a letter about they run a rescue and stuff. So I knew she was emotionally invested. But when the appraisal came, and we knew the appraisal might be an issue because it was clearly, when you looked around, one of the nicer, if not the nicest house in the neighborhood. But anyway, the appraisal came through in 10,000 less than the contract price. So there were a few anxious hours, but the buyer was motivated to sell it to them, and she already had another house next to her son she was moving to. So within a couple hours, she said fine and accepted the the appraised price, and we
Oh.
continued. Yeah. So we're fortunate. I know it is, but the 10,000, I knew might be a few thousand less, but the 10,000 kind of like sunk my stomach, but it worked out. So
Well,
Congratulations.
thank you.
congratulations. That's awesome. It's wonderful that the seller, it's in this situation, the seller liked the buyer. And that helps a lot. That just goes to show you that money isn't always the motivating factor for a seller, you know, and that's a good thing. So
Yeah. Well, the reason she actually, there were two offers that she first decided on, and the other one was actually 2,000 more than ours.
uh-huh.
But because of the letter, believe it or not,
Well-
she loved the letter, and she had her listing agent call me and said she loved your letter. She wants to sell it to your buyers. Will they match the extra 2,000? And they did. Of course, then it came 10,000 less, but it all worked out.
Beautiful. Well, congratulations. That's awesome. That's great. Good stuff. What else? Tell me something good. Or an aha that you had in the last 30, 60 days.
In the
Yeah,
history of Van Dyke Mortgage, which we originated in 1978, we had our largest month ever last month.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah, that was awesome. And
That's
Awesome.
between Brian and I, our volume is up 200%, 199% year over year.
Congratulations.
Ooh,
That's
you.
exciting. That's great.
Pretty
Yeah,
excited
I mean,
about that. Thank you.
It's pretty amazing what's going on right now. So make hay while the sun shines, right? Well, that's the way to go. Good, 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 good. What else? Tell me something good. Or an aha, anything that you've learned. Don't be shy.
I think I just want to add that it's been refreshing to see more agents in the market center over here at Tampa Properties. It's been really nice, and bold, happening on Tuesdays now certainly has helped, and just the overall feel of the market center.
Awesome.
Just wanted-
That's great.
yeah.
Good stuff. Great. Anybody else?
I'm new, but I've been taking a whole lot of classes, so there's been a million aha moments.
Okay, well, that's a great thing. Anyone stick out right now that comes to mind that really impacted you in a positive way?
Not right now. I just came directly off a class right before this.
Oh, great, great.
Yeah, so just mine's like going like this, but I'm really excited.
Okay, that's wonderful. So you're just starting in real estate, just got licensed?
Yeah.
Okay, the main thing, there's so many opportunities for learning and so many things coming at you at the same time. Just understand that you don't need to know everything before you start.
Good to know.
Okay?
Aha.
And inch by inch, it's a cinch. By the yard, it's hard, but inch by inch, it's a cinch. So the most important thing you can do to get started is to meet people, talk to people,
See your people.
do open houses, start working in command, add to your database. And, that's the way you're going to learn the fastest, because you can't learn everything and then take action. What you have to do is learn and take action, because it layers on and deepens the experiential learning that you have. If you try to learn everything, you forget almost all of it before you start doing anything. Follow what I'm saying? So
Good
don't be
advice,
like
yeah.
me. I was a recovering perfectionist for the first several months that I
Yes.
started in real estate. And until my manager said to me, you're real good at writing down leads and putting them in your index card box, because that's what we did way back then, 35 years ago. She said, but when the hell are you going to get off your ass and do something? Sorry. I pay KW Cares in advance for the cuss word, so forgive me. But that's exactly what she said, quote unquote. So got me so ticked off, I went and knocked on a door. And if I knew what I was going to learn before I knocked on that door, I would have never knocked on that door. But what happened was it wound up to be a double dip, for a house that, the buyer was a first-time home buyer, and the seller was a foreign investor whose house was in foreclosure, and he moved back to England. He didn't care whether it sold or not. The buyer's attorney thought APR, annual percentage rate, didn't know what APR was.
Oh my gosh.
So it was a nightmare, but we had people to help us along the way. And my main point is, to make a long story longer, is you have people to help you here. And that's what the best part of this company is. We're a sharing company. You don't have to go it alone. You know, there's brokers, there's broker people, liaisons in the market centers. There's people that are teaching classes. Don't be a stranger, ask for help. But the faster you get out, I call it the middle of the cash flow. You know, you want to get cash, you got to hang out in the middle of the cash flow. And that's where buyers and sellers hang out.
Yeah.
So do the things that are going to help you launch your career, and you'll be awesome. You'll be great. Does that make sense?
Thank you. Yes.
Pleasure. Good stuff.
Gary,
Yeah.
also add that you can go to the same classes again and again. Just because you've attended one before doesn't mean you're gonna hear the same thing the second time. There's always going to be new nuggets, new stuff, even though you've taken it before.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I mean, being learning based and into self-mastery means that you don't get it the first time, you know, and don't think just because you've been to it once you get it, because you don't, you know. It's a layering on of knowledge. You know, you go out and implement things, you come back and you hear different things the next time, because things have more meaning to you because of what you just experienced. Does that make sense? So that's why training is an ongoing thing. It's an ongoing practice. And that's why every one of our market centers in KW have training rooms, so that you guys can continue to invest in yourselves and learn and grow. Because the better product you bring to the market, the product that you bring to the market is you, by the way, not the houses that you're selling. The better you bring to the market, the more value you bring to the market, the more highly compensated you are. Does that make sense? Thanks.
100%.
Right on the money.
Gary,
Jen.
Listening to the new agent, Mickey. Hi, Mickey, welcome.
Hi.
It took me back to my beginnings. And one thing that I know today to be true that I didn't know back then in the beginning is, even though I'm sitting in those classes and I'm learning stuff, and I was not confident that it really got in. So that's why people keep taking classes. Oh, I have to learn more. I have to learn more. No, if you get out there belly button to belly button with buyers and sellers, it's in there. You just have to let it come out when you're interacting with an actual person. Right. And have a little more confidence that you did learn it, and now you just have to apply it.
It makes sense. I actually I'm coming off not that long ago looking in this market, putting an offer in, got accepted, but a lot of foundation problems, so we pulled out. So that's kind of what inspired me, just the whole looking thing. So I'm coming straight off doing a lot of the things that you guys are talking about. So it's just, a lot of it is clicking. So I think it's very timely.
Good stuff. Good stuff. That's great. What else? Anybody else? Tell me something good, or something you like to share. Okay, let's jump in, Tamara, with the materials. Okay, consideration for others, the underrated character trait. Keep courtesy and consideration of others foremost in your mind at home and away. This favorite quote of Coach Wooden's was a reminder for his players to treat the fans they encountered on the road with the same courtesy and consideration they gave to their fans at home. Coach Wooden was UCLA's basketball coach for a lot of years. He was probably the most successful college basketball coach in history. One definition of consideration is thoughtfulness for other people. The idea of consideration for others was the central theme of Coach Wooden's life. Two of Coach's life heroes were Abraham Lincoln and Mother Teresa. Well, you can't do much better than that, can you? When asked why, the coach replied simply, because of their consideration for others. Coach was once asked, when you look back on your life, how would you really like to be remembered? He replied, I'd like to be remembered as a normal person who was considerate of others. That would be enough for me. Coach didn't view being considerate of others as a chore or a sacrifice. In his book with Steve Jameson, Wooden, The Lifetime of Observation and Reflections on and off the court, Coach expanded on this idea. Being polite and courteous isn't paying a price any more than smiling or being happy is paying a price. You get more than you give when you're polite and courteous. People like to help, to be polite, to be considerate. I believe it's basic human nature. And it's a funny thing. When you start displaying courtesy, politeness, and consideration, people start displaying them right back. We can apply this simple idea as a reminder to treat our families with the same cheerful attitude we often treat our coworkers. Even after a long day at work, some folks created a structured transition between leaving work and arriving home to assure when they open the front door at home, they do it with a happy face. Nell Wooden said that when her husband John came home from work, she couldn't tell from his demeanor whether practice that day had been good or bad. Any thoughts on this? Any ahas?
I think it does require that we be more mindful of what we're up against and thoughtful about it. And I always go back to how you start your day. If you start your day with mindfulness and kind of project into the day that you're going to be moving through these different spaces, and also set an intention that when you come home and you're in that space, it's going to be a certain way, the way you want it to be. I think that makes a difference.
Right. It's your choice how to respond to your environment. You may not be able to control the environment, but it's your choice how to respond to it. And, you get a lot further with people, whether it's on the phone or face to face, when you make it about them rather than about yourself. Okay. That's what it's all about. When you're considerate of others, when you're respectful of them, at all times, and you listen with your two ears and speak with your one mouth in the proportion that you have them. When you make it all about other people, that's their favorite subject. So it's kind of amazing how much they like you when you're asking the questions about themselves, rather than trying to tell them how good you are, good your company is, things of that nature, right? And the other thing I want you to not be nervous about, Nikki, since we were talking to you about it earlier, is I thought about it before, but then it left me. But when you're on a consultation with a buyer or a seller, it's not only all about them, but you have to focus on them and not about yourself. It's not about you having scripts memorized, although it's important to memorize situations and having them for you, but it's not about having memorized scripts. It's about having great questions. It's about listening to what their needs are, finding out what's important to them and why it's important to them. And if you invest the time in uncovering those needs and helping them prioritize those needs, buyer or seller, it'll launch a relationship that could be a long-term relationship. And that's what we call the consulting approach, a consultation rather than a presentation. Follow what I'm saying? There's a difference between a consultation and a presentation. Consultation involves listening and earning the right to share strategies, okay? And people are more receptive to listening to strategies after they feel they've been heard. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the philosophy that I use and that I teach, okay? So yes, consideration of others is a big thing. Like even when you're previewing a house, do you ask for permission to open the closet door? Or do you just barrel right through and open the closet door? You know what I mean? To let everything fall out or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
It's about respect, and you just common courtesy and common respect and valuing the people that you're in front of is going to go a long way in generating a great career for every one of you, no doubt about it. And Coach Wooden was a master of that basic, that's for sure. Any other thoughts or comments?
Gary, when I go, I always try to make sure that the person that I'm working with realizes that, in my opinion, and that we are a team, and that the better we work together, the better everything is going to be, and that communication is key. But I always, always, always emphasize that we are a team and we're a partnership, and that's how we're going to get the best results.
Powerful. That's great. That's true. We're all on the same side of the table. We're not on the opposite side of the table as they are. And the better you get at convincing them and assuring them and showing them that we're on the same side of the table, that we're not going to try to make you do anything you don't want to do. We're going to present options, and you're going to decide based on what your needs are, what the best options are for you. And when you move them to the other side, to the same side of the table as you, or you move yourself to their side of the table, then it's a whole different experience, right? So
Yep.
that's awesome, right on the money. The other thing is, I'll share, Nikki was better at this than me. You know, she had a whole system. When she'd come home, she'd if she had calls to make before she came into the house, she would pick all of the calls in the garage, you know, as she pulled into the garage, get all that done before she came into the house to greet us and the kids, me and the kids, right? You know, we had a great coach that reminded us that, and you're in your house and you got little kids growing up, or anybody, significant other. If you got to do business in one room of the house. Don't do business all through the house. Pick one spot in the house where everybody in the family knows that's where business is done. But don't, you know, contaminate other parts of the house that are for the family. Or don't make your family and your loved ones think that this phone call is more important than the conversation you're having with them. Does that make sense? That's what, you know, so consideration for others, not just your clients or potential clients or customers, but also for your loved ones, even more important. Does that make sense? All right, good stuff. So I felt I needed to share that with. Anybody interested in financial advice?
Yes.
Okay. I put together a couple of articles that I thought you might be interested in. Some of you are very familiar with Dave Ramsey. Some of you teach Dave Ramsey's 7 steps, baby steps. But if debt is an issue, or even building wealth, Ramsey's 7 steps work. So I'm going to go through them with you briefly. I just felt compelled to share this with you because maybe somebody on the call, or maybe more than one of you on the call, this could be information that might help you. And look up Dave Ramsey, look up his programs, and it's powerful stuff. First baby step is save $1,000 for your starter emergency fund. Your goal is to save $1,000 as fast as you can. Emergency fund will cover those unexpected life events you can't plan for. And there are plenty of them. You don't want to dig a deeper hole while you're trying to work your way out of debt. Okay. And the worst thing to do is to get more debt to cover an emergency, especially credit card debt, where the interest rates are absolutely nuts. Right? So if you have to use some of that $1,000 for an emergency, the first goal is to replenish them as soon as possible. Does that make sense? Second step, pay off all debt except your mortgage, except the house, using the debt snowball. Okay, so what's the debt snowball? So it's time to pay off the cars, the credit cards, the student loans. If they're there, start by listing all your debts except for your mortgage. Put them in order by balance from smallest amount owed to largest amount owed, regardless of interest rate. Pay minimum payments on everything but the little one, the lowest amount. Attack that one with the vengeance. Once that's paid off, take that payment you were paying on that smallest balance, put it towards the second smallest balance, making minimum payments on the rest of your debts. And that's what's called the debt snowball method. And you'll use it to knock out your debts one by one and create an unbelievable amount of momentum. Okay. Baby step 3, save 3 to 6 months of expenses in a fully funded emergency fund. So you've paid off your debt except for your mortgage. Congratulations. Don't slow down now. Take that money you were throwing at your debt and build a fully funded emergency fund that covers 3 to 6 months of your expenses. This will protect you against life's bigger surprises, like the loss of a job or your car breaking down without slipping back into debt. One of the things we've learned from this pandemic, businesses that couldn't continue are businesses that didn't have 3 to 6 months of expenses or more. And my aha was, the more you have in that emergency fund that you're not going to touch, the better off you are and the longer you'll survive. So that's the biggest thing that happened. So you want to have 3 to 6 months of expenses for your personal lives, your home budgets, and 3 to 6 months of expenses for your business. If you look at our market centers have about 4 months of expenses in the account at all times. just to handle in case of emergency things, right? Baby step 4, invest 15% of your household income in retirement. It's time to get serious about retirement, no matter what your age is. The younger you are, the better it is to start. Take 15% of your gross household income and start investing it into your retirement. Start with your company's 401k plan and invest, if there is one, and invest up to the full employer match. Then invest the rest into Roth IRAs, one for you and one for your spouse if you're married. Roth IRAs grow tax-free, okay, which is awesome. Whereas there's other things you can put your money in that will save your taxes on the front end, but then it won't grow tax-free. So talk to an investment pro to give you the best advice as far as what avenue you should pursue. Okay, baby step 5. Save for your children's college fund. By this step, you'll paid off all your debts except for the house and started saving for retirement. Next, it's time to save for your children's college expenses. That is, if they make it through Algebra 2 and chemistry unscathed. We recommend the 529 college saving plans or ESAs. It's funny, we're looking into a 529 plan for our grandson right now. You know, those are great vehicles to use and something to look into. Check into it with your financial advisors. Baby step 6, pay off your home early. Now bring it all home. Baby step 6 is the big dog. Your mortgage is the only thing between you and complete freedom from debt. Can you imagine your life with no house payment? Any extra money you can put towards your mortgage could save you tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. Okay, so anytime you can, and the faster you set up a system, the better. You know, one of the things that we always did is, you know, if we couldn't get a 15-year mortgage because the payment scared us, we'd get a 30-year, figure out what the payment would be on a 15-year and pay that difference in extra principal every month. So your house can get paid off sooner and your interest, the interest you pay is drastically reduced. Baby step 7, build wealth and give. You know what people with no debt can do? Anything they want. The last step is the most fun. You can live and give like no one else. Keep building wealth and become outrageously generous, all while leaving an inheritance for your kids and their kids. Now that's what we call leaving a legacy. Okay, how many people were with me through that and how many people did I lose? Any thoughts? Any ahas? Any comments?
I always thought you paid off the one with the highest interest rate. So what's the thought process with paying off the smallest one?
Motivation.
Create momentum into and success. From paying the lowest amount off first, you know, it means it's done, you know, and then you pay the next lowest one off. You can get through your debt faster.
Gotcha.
As long as you're not asking, I mean, as long as you're not using those cards that you just don't have any balances on. It doesn't mean you can go keep using them. It means, okay, we're getting out of debt. So the goal is to
Right.
So you pay the one that can be paid off the fastest. Then you pay the next one off that can be paid off. But you use the money, you can see how it's going to snowball. The money you're using when you get to the even the highest interest rate debt, you're going to have all that money going into those last few cards or whatever it is that you have. And it just creates a whole bunch of momentum. And then imagine when all the debt is paid off, whatever money you were using to pay whatever amount of debt you had is your money. Now you can put that in the bank of Michelle or the bank of whatever your name is, right? And have that savings account.
I think you can all put it in the bank of Michelle if you want to.
Got it. You follow my logic, right?
Yes, absolutely.
We had a real estate trainer that was one of our mentors, and he was excellent. His name was Howard Brinton, and he wasn't very good at paying his taxes, like a lot of real estate agents are. He was a very good salesman, but he wasn't very good at paying his taxes. So he got hit with a major tax penalty, and he said, "Man, I got to figure out how to pay this whatever amount of taxes that it was." And I think it came to like, you know, an extra 10 grand a month. something like that. I forget the exact amount. So he had to earn after he had net enough money from his business to have, after taxes, to pay 10,000 more in taxes for what he owed previously. So he eventually did it and got through it, and he was motivated and paid it all off. And he said, now what I had was an extra $10,000 a month that I used to build my wealth. You know, so it's just amazing once you get through paying off this debt, what you can really create momentum in a savings plan. Instead of paying the creditors, you're paying yourself. And it's always going to be better when you are the bank and when you don't need the money than when you borrow money from the bank. Does that make sense? Good. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Any comments?
Well, I'm just curious if you're paying off that, you know, the smaller debt credit card, if that boosts your credit score faster, if that's also part of that philosophy. I don't know the answer to that, but I'm curious about that.
Now, it might, but I think the whole purpose of it is so you don't need to keep using credit.
Yeah.
You know, you want to get out of debt and stay out of debt as much as possible, because, you know, and Ramsey's such a great presenter. He's also a comedian too. He's just hilarious. You know, you don't want to be a slave to the lender. Sorry, Kurt. but he said
no offense taken.
The last thing to pay off is the mortgage, right? But you don't want to be a slave to the lender, because they write all the rules, you know, and those you know, they control and cause in how you respond to paying these debts up. It takes discipline. Another thing Ramsey says is live like no one else now, so you can live like no one else later. Right? It takes discipline if you really want to live on less than what you're living on right now. You gotta track it. You got to be aware of it. You know, you got to have systems set up where your money is going where you want it to go, as far as that you're not going to touch, instead of spending, you know, in weak moments on things you might not have the money for. Does that make sense? So I invite you all to do more research on that. Financial Peace is the name of a class that teaches the baby steps. I think, Donna, you teach that, don't you?
Yes, I have. It's been a while, I'll have to admit. It's been a while, but yes, I have.
Yeah, it's definitely, Financial Peace is the class. You can see it offered. Sometimes it's offered in our market centers. Several people in our market centers are instructors for that program, but it's also in a lot of churches and things like that. You might see a sign driving through by a church that's being offered. How many weeks class is it? Is it like an 8-week or 12-week class or something like that?
Yeah, they've changed it over the years, but I think now it's 7 or 8 weeks. You can go to daveramsey.com/FPU for Financial Peace University. Put in your zip code and it'll tell you when the closest one is coming up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we had it in a couple of our market centers, about, I don't know how many years ago, maybe back in the late 2007, 2008, when the market was really tough, and it really impacted a lot of people and changed their lives because they were able to get out of debt and go from below zero to above zero, and it was really powerful. Anybody else? Okay, let's see what Gary Keller talks about, the 7 traps between you and financial wealth. I love his definition of truth. The true purpose of financial wealth is to have the money you need to achieve your purpose in life without having to work. You determine your end goal, and your goal determines what you need to attain financial wealth. To help in that journey, keep an eye out for these traps. Number 1, not knowing your freedom number guarantees unhappiness. So he's talking about freedom number. He's talking about the amount of income, either from investments or businesses that you own, not job-related income, that will generate you enough income so that you can live and accomplish your purpose in your life. So if you don't have a finish line, you'll never get free. If you don't know your number, you'll never have enough to know when to stop working or when you can stop working. Some people don't want to stop working. 2, comparative wealth is a loser's game. Don't let your values be determined by someone else. You can always raise your goal, but make sure that you're doing so based on your own terms. 3, failing to follow a plan leaves your wealth to chance. Luck isn't a plan. Creating a plan ensures that you'll have guidelines as you grow your wealth. Know your freedom number. Pick your investment vehicle. Know your model. Put in the time of investing on investing tasks. 4, untracked dollars lead to dumb money. The way you turn your money into smart money is by tracking it. You should track what? Track your net worth. Track your cash flow. Update regularly. Keep score. Also, what you want to track is any purchases that you're going to make. How are your purchases going to affect your net worth? You're going to buy a brand new car and borrow all the money? Will that increase your net worth or decrease your net worth? So evaluate your financial decisions by the impact it's going to have on net worth, cash flow. Number 5, not engaging good advisors is ill-advised. You'll pay a price for cheap advice, probably more than you'll pay for sound advice. Make sure you have a good representation. The worst mistake you'll make is not having people in your life that will give you great advice. So find someone that you trust and ask them what their portfolio looks like. 6, mistaking knowledge for mastery puts risk ahead of reward. Whatever your investment vehicle is, seek always to learn about it. Read, explore. Investing should always be the end result of an investigative process. Go see real estate, run the numbers, do your research. Have a plan. Have an established criteria for the properties that you're going to buy or whatever you're going to invest in. If it doesn't meet that criteria, then it's a no. Warren Buffett hasn't had a significant, any one of Warren Buffett's books is going to be a good read but his investment strategy was, he made a few bad investments at the beginning and he said, I'm just going to follow a process. So he followed a process and he developed this process after reading I forget the name of the Intelligent Investor, I think it was, is the name of the book. And he read it like 12 times. And he established his own criteria for what he would be willing to invest in. Because he said, never invest in something you don't know anything about. So once he established this criteria, he followed it. Even if the decision was a no, he celebrated at the end of it because the process revealed the answer was no. He didn't just celebrate on investments that he decided to pursue. He celebrated the investments he decided not to pursue because the process revealed what the answer was. Do you have a process like that? Do you think it'd be worthwhile to have a process like that? To invest in whatever you're going to invest in, whether it's real estate, whether it's businesses, whether it's stocks, bonds, whatever it is. And 7, unexpected optimism exposes you to the unexpected. Don't buy into the hype, guys. Be sure that you're investing and not speculating. You should make your money going in. And for each potential investment, ensure that you have an escape hatch, buy to sell. Take a stair-step approach so that you can build your wealth in secure stages. The big thing here is you should make your money going in. You might not realize the profits till you sell, but you make your money going in. Any questions, thoughts, ahas?
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I just want to agree to the quote. The worst in your life is not to have a great, hold on one second, I got confused the words. I wrote it down. In life is not to have a great, knowledgeable people in your life to give you a good advice. And that's awesome. It's logic, but it's something that we don't think about,
Right.
because if we had someone to guide us from the beginning, from when we're young, we wouldn't be making so many mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's what I always see that as plus or minus in everybody's life, because you are who you are because of who was in your life, you know?
Question about it. You know,
Mhm.
we don't want to go. We don't want to go it alone.
Yeah,
Especially
sure.
things that, you know, where we're not sure or we don't know. You know.
Yes, correct. Thank you.
You should do your research. You should do your reading, and you should do your interviews and interview people that you're looking. Just like people interview real estate agents, right? You know, to make sure they hire the right person. Although a lot of people don't, they interview one or two. But the point is you want to make a sound decision on who you decide to trust with your financial welfare.
Yeah, and everything in life, actually.
That's right.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you. What else? Anybody else? Okay, I got into the financial aspect of this. Let's jump into some good news real estate wise. You ready for some good news real estate wise?
Yes.
Yes, we are.
Good. Thank you. Jobs report. The economy gained 916,000 jobs in March, well above expert projections. The unemployment rate fell again and it's now at 6%. As compared to where it was last year at this time, pretty quickly. Powerful, okay? It's reasonable to expect that a majority of those lost jobs will be recouped in the coming months. So, you know, they're bullish on the unemployment rate continuing to fall. In fact, Frantoni said, whatever it is, Frantantoni says, we fully expect that this pace of job gains will continue for months and anticipate that the unemployment rate now at 6% will be well below 5% by the end of the year. Okay. Schenker says people are getting back to work and the vaccine isn't just inoculating the population, it's clearly inoculating the economy. Good news, guys, right? So what does this mean to real estate? The biggest challenge, as we know, is listing inventory. It's down 52% from a year ago. That's nationally. It's down a lot more than that here. Bidding wars are skyrocketing. As a result, home prices are rising like crazy. So one answer is to build more homes to satisfy the demand. So here's what the jobs report says as far as from 3 economists. There's been construction jobs boomed in March, one of the largest monthly gains ever. This raises the prospect for more home building and more inventory reaching the market in upcoming months. So more jobs, more people are hiring, more construction is going to be happening. So bottom line, an improving economy with a falling unemployment rate will benefit households across the country, as well as the overall housing market. And that's really good news. Really good news. Okay, next. More good news. Americans see major home equity gains. And this is the state by state average home equity gain throughout the US. The average totally was $26,300 of average appreciation. So what you do with that appreciation is you know, interesting. You know, if you use it to make sound investments like moving up, okay, buying a more expensive home, buying your dream home, or using it to buy investment properties, that'd be a couple of potential great ways of using your appreciation. That's significant. Wouldn't you agree? Okay, next. Interesting information. Buyer competition is good news for sellers. The average numbers of offers right now in January was 2.3 offers per listing. Now it's about 4.1. So that's the big thing to prepare your clients for, buyers and sellers. Okay. And the average median days on the market back in January was 43. Now it's 20. So as the month supply of inventory shrinks, more offers at the same time competing against each other, shorter period of time. So you as listing agents, the cash flow for a listing right now is probably one of the shortest times in history. So you get a listing, it goes under contract in a week or two, and you get paid within a month and a half to 2 months. Believe me, it's not like that all the time. So you new agents that this is the reality right now, it's not going to be this way forever. It'll be this way as long as interest rates stay down and as long as unemployment stays reasonable. But as soon as interest rates go up, houses will stay on the market longer and inventory will accumulate, which means it'll be a less strong of a seller's market. They might even eventually move into a balanced market or a buyer's market. But who knows how long that's going to take. Right? Right now, our world is 4.1, 4 offers for every listing in an average of 20 days. That's pretty mind-boggling. So one of the things I like about this KCM blog, several of the articles that I'm sharing with you are from a blog called KCM, Keeping Current Matters. You might want to look it up because it gives you an article every day. And there's great ones that you can post on your social media or send to your database. What I love about it is they love realtors and they love keeping you in the center of the transaction and recommending that buyers and sellers talk to you. And the other thing I love about it is it creates a sense of, it educates buyers and sellers, and it creates a sense, itself the benefits on taking action now. What the benefit to a seller and a buyer would be of taking action right now. And we're happen to be in a marketplace for the first time in history where it's a great time for sellers to sell and it's a great time for buyers to buy. Would you agree with that? Anybody not agree with that?
First time ever you could say that.
I
Well,
think
not
so.
ever, but
Well, I think it is. I think the last couple of years have been this way, you know, and it's just, you know, it's getting, you know, even though interest may not be at the lowest point they've been. I mean, 6 months ago they were 2.65, right? We're going to get to a piece on that in a second. Even with that, and even with appreciation, the way it's been the last 3 years, if you bought 3 or 4 years ago, that might have been the best time. Okay, but the fact is that it's an amazing time to buy and accumulate rental real estate and investment real estate.
yes.
So, Gary, would you say it's a good time for investors to buy?
Yes.
In terms of multifamily and things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because the debt service is so low. The mortgage payments will be very low, and in most situations, almost all situations, rental real estate will be a positive cash flow. And with interest rates a little bit above 3.5. What are the interest rates for an investment property now? 3.5.
You're probably looking around 3.75 to 4%, depending on how much they put down in credit score.
Now you have to do the numbers and see how appreciation has impacted it. But it's a great time for, and what I share with my team, one of the great strategies if you're looking for listings is to call, for rent by owners. Call investors that might want to upgrade and top grade their current portfolio. They might have some properties that are generating income, but they don't like them for some reason, and they want to sell some of their portfolio and invest in something different. I'd be calling for rent by owners to see how I might be able to help them. I might be, just like right now, there's more pending properties in all 3 counties by 2 and 3 times than there is active inventory. So why aren't we calling pending listings? Why aren't we calling agents that have properties pending for our active buyers to see how the contracts are going on those properties? Wouldn't it be great to get a property that's just coming back on the market before it hits the market? And I use that as another way to not have to compete with multiple offers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it takes thinking out of the box a little bit to bring a benefit to your clients. Okay. But here we go. At the bottom of this article, it says, if you're ready to make a move, let's connect today so you can sell your house while the market's in your favor. Okay. And the market is in the favor of sellers right now more than buyers, but it's still a great time for buyers simply because the interest rates are so low. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Awesome. All good news. All right. Next, don't sell your house on your own just because it's a seller's market. Now, why would we say that? And do you think there's more FSBOs now than expires? There's many more FSBOs now than expires. There's very few expires. Okay? People think they can sell it on their own. People don't think they need a listing agent. And that's only because they're uneducated. They don't understand the benefit of a listing agent. They don't understand what you do to drive their price as high as it can go. Okay? So let's look at this in the red. In reality, even in a seller's market, selling on your own likely means you'll net a lower profit than when you sell with the help of an agent. The NIR report explains FSBOs typically sell for less than the selling price of other homes. FSBOs homes sold at a median of 217.9 in 2020, up from 200 in 2019, and still far lower than the median selling price of all homes at 242.3. Agent-assisted homes sold for a median of 295. Little difference there, isn't there? Sellers who began as a FSBO then ended up working with an agent, received 98% of their asking price, but had to reduce their price the most before arriving at a final listing price. Okay, so why do you think agent houses are selling for so much more than a FSBO house?
Visibility?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exposure.
Activity.
Activity. Okay, yeah. So yeah, let's take that a little deeper. That's all exactly right. What kind of buyers do FSBOs attract?
Yep.
People that have
ones that
not
want the
been
deal.
pre-approved, they don't know if they can really afford the house or not because they don't think to pre-approve themselves. And you get a lot of people that are just kicking dust.
Yeah. 41% of homeowners who tried to sell their house as a FSBO did so to avoid paying a commission or a fee. So why would a buyer look at a FSBO? For the same reason.
They think it's a deal because the commission isn't in there.
That's right.
Yep,
They think
100%.
they can save the commission. You know, so buyers that are looking for a deal or investors that are willing to do the research to try to find them in the first place because they do lack visibility. Okay. And buyers that are looking to save money, or buyers that can't qualify that realtors won't work with. Right? Now, what type of buyers do the realtors work with?
Serious buyers.
Buyers that are serious and in a hurry and have
Approved.
a willingness to pay a fair price. Right?
Yeah, and from all over the country. These FSBOs probably tend to be a little more local.
Right.
So you can draw people from right now. I got Virginia people I'm working with. They work for the federal government. They're ready to pay a lot more for a house than a local buyer putzing around the FSBOs in their spare time.
You know, one of the great questions to ask a FSBO is, Mr. and Mrs. for sale by owner, if you were moving to a different part of the country, would you look at for sale by owner?
No.
That's a good point.
So are you saying you're trying to sell your house yourself, that you're willing to say no to about 50% of our market right now? You think saying no to 50% of the market right now, in other words, out-of-state buyers, is a way to drive your price up to the highest price it could possibly be? Who do you think is going to pay more for your house? An investor type buyer or a bargain hunter type buyer, or someone that's competing with other retail type buyers to purchase your home?
Exactly.
Is it possible you could be leaving on the money on the table right now by trying to sell your house yourself with the hope of saving money? But I have a friend who's going to buy it. Well, look at this. When the seller knew the buyer, the amount was even lower, coming in at 176.7. So look at the graph on the next page. It's nuts. You know, all FSBOs median price 217. When the FSBO where the seller knew the buyer, it was 176.7. So it looks like the buyers got the best of that deal. So if a FSBO says they got their property under contract, well, have you had a market evaluation done on your property? Have you gotten all it's worth? Because don't just think FSBOs are greedy and they're trying to steal money. A lot of times they don't know what it's worth and they've underpriced it, especially this market. You've talked at the beginning of our talk today, two of you, John and Michelle, talked about raising the price. FSBOs don't know that. Why aren't we talking to every FSBO in town? Home sold by an agent, $295. There's a lot of money to risk losing when you're for sale by owner, far more than what you'd save on the commission. Again, the reason I love KCM blog, you stand to gain the most by working with a knowledgeable and experienced real estate agent. Let's connect to discuss our trusted advisor. And that's what you all aspire to be. Trusted advisors can help you, especially in today's market. That's what you want to find for your financial investments too, a trusted advisor, right? Trusted advisors increase their business by 200%. That's what Kurt is. That's what Brian is. That's what Van Dyke does. You don't increase business by 200% by not being a trusted advisor. Does that make sense?
100%.
Good. Okay, any questions, thoughts, ahas?
I have a comment.
Okay.
Over my 30 years, not quite as long as you and Nikki, but over my 30 years in 3 states, I've often had a seller say they had somebody they wanted to bring to the table. Not once in 30 years in 3 states did it ever result in a sale.
Right. Yep.
And the thing with a FSBO or even someone else that says they think they have a buyer is, are you willing to put all your eggs in that basket? Okay. Are you willing to say no to potential other opportunities? Because one of the things that even if you have a buyer, Mr. and Mrs. FSBO, and we exclude that buyer from the listing or for whatever reason, because they want to do that, right? If you put all your eggs in that basket, you're limiting the opportunities that you could have. And you don't know how much you could get if you truly tested the market and put your house on the market. Where if all the buyers that are ready, willing, and able to purchase your home and pay a fair price for it might be competing to buy your home. Okay. So it's amazing. And my experience is the same. In fact, situations where they had it under contract for a price that they're glad they didn't sell it for, because they wound up getting more money than they would have gotten by selling it to that friend or selling it to that person that works at the same place that they work at. So if you haven't done a CMA or a supply and demand analysis in a while, just go offer a for sale by owner one for free. And you'll get real good at doing CMAs and supply and demand analysis, and you might get a listing at the same time. Any other thoughts, ahas?
I'm pretty new at this, but one thing I realized with this buyer I was working with, that if we saw a house that, of course we were going to see houses really quickly because within 48 hours, multiple offers. But if we saw something that had been on a little longer, maybe even 3 or 4 days and not a lot of offers, you wonder what's wrong with it. And if it's for sale, but you know what I mean? And for sale by owner puts their house, I mean, they could have it a week and then get a few people coming in looking and thinking they're doing well. But if they eventually do go with a realtor, it's going to be like considered old inventory and people are going to question, what's wrong with it. Perhaps. I mean, it's a possibility. And versus going with the realtor, they're going to get multiple offers in a couple of days. So.
Right. And you want to be again, kind and considerate with for sale by owners, and be patient with them, because a lot of times they're not receptive in the beginning when you talk to them. For sale by owners are a process, not an event. They're not going to get all your logic right away. In fact, when there's emotion involved, they don't hear logic sometimes. But the main thing is to stay in relationship with them and offer them help. Okay. And check in on them every few days or every week and see where they're at and what's going on. Okay. And let them know what's happening with you and your success stories when it's appropriate to. Okay. I have a bunch more articles, but I also have some data. So I'm going to go through the next few articles pretty quickly, but I invite you to read them, right? And where are they at, Tamara? the material?
Ubaldinitraining.com. However, I'm going to go ahead and paste the link on here because some people were having trouble getting it, Gary.
Okay.
I'll
Here's
put it in
another
the chat.
article. Here's a great article that talks about buyers using their tax refund and if they got stimulus. Because what it says in this article is that a third of the people that got stimulus checks put that money in a savings account. So buyers that didn't think they could buy or had enough money for a down payment, between their tax refund and the stimulus money that they got, they might have enough to put a down payment down, especially if there's incentive programs out there that are available. And this is an article that you can read on your own. Okay. The next is how a change in mortgage rate impacts your home buying budget. Okay. If you do have any buyers on the fence, this is a great article to share with them. Okay. Because since January, mortgage rates have increased a 0.5 percentage point from historic lows, and home prices have risen. So what that means is buyers are losing their buying power. Interest rates on January 7th were 2.65. Right now they're 3.17 as of March 25th. So that's a 0.5 point. So that means their buying power got diminished by 5% as far as their ability to qualify. Because every percent that a mortgage rate rises, the buyer's buying power is limited, is reduced by 10%. In other words, they qualify for 10% less of a mortgage. So if they could qualify for $200,000 mortgage at 2.5%, and their interest rates went up to 3.5%, that means they can only qualify for 180 now. And if values are rising at the same time, the neighborhood they thought they could buy in a year ago they may not be able to buy in right now. So that's why buyers want to get out there and buy right now. Okay. And the next page, it gives you a graphic on the impact of what a 0.25% does. Okay. And what your buying power can buy. So say for example, right now it's 2 points. So if it goes to, from 2.5 to 3.75, look at the difference in payments. And look at the difference in the amount of your buying power. Okay. It's 1225 at 2 3/4 for 300,000. Okay. If it goes to 3 3/4, your payment goes up $25 and you can only afford $270. Okay. So this is a reason that there's buyers out there buying like crazy, and this is a reason to get your buyers off the fence. And also your sellers that are waiting to put their house on the market because they're afraid they're not going to find anything. Okay, yeah, their house is going up in value, but at the same time, if they're moving up, the house they're buying is going up in value. And if interest rates are going up at the same time, they're losing buying power every day. So the seller should get that house on the market and find something to buy right now that works for them. Okay. Next article. What it means to be in a seller's market. We talk about this every month. Okay. And there it is right there. Right now we're in the throes of the strongest seller's market I've ever experienced in my life. They say across the country it's a 2-month supply of inventory. In our marketplace, it's a 1 month or less supply of inventory in most price ranges. So that means you're getting what you're experiencing now. Sellers control the shots, multiple offers, buyers are competing with other buyers for properties. The cash flow cycle for you is great from that sense, because if you get a listing, you're getting paid quickly. In a buyer's market, the buyers control the shots. There's an abundant amount of inventory, and our lives are different because the cash flow cycle is a lot longer, but we're also carrying a lot more listings. So our seller service system has to be proactive. We have to take care of them and talk to them every week and let them know what's going on. Right now, you don't even talk to the seller. You list the property and you're talking to them with 3 offers, 5 offers, or 10 offers. In a buyer's market, it's completely different. You have to make sure that you're in relationship with them and working on price adjustments. Right now, you don't really, price adjustments happen maybe once or not at all. Most of it's not at all. Okay. Home prices are appreciating. Making your home available over the coming weeks will give you the most exposure to buyers who will actively compete against each other to purchase it. It's true. Buyers are competing for every listing that comes on the market. There's like a feeding frenzy for every new listing that comes on the market. That's why I say the best service you can provide a buyer is to help them find a home that nobody knows about yet. So how do you help a buyer find a home that nobody knows about yet?
Check on the pending things, make sure that that like you had said earlier.
Right, search pendings as well as active, but also search expireds and withdrawals as well as actives with the same criteria that you're searching for your buyer active listings. You know, calling and also previewing for sale by owners. You know, when you're calling those pending listings, that listing agent may have another property that was similar to the one they just got under contract that may be coming soon, that may be coming on the market. The more you talk to agents, the more you're likely to find a product that's coming on the market for your buyer before it hits the market, if the agent is willing to let it be shown before it hits the market, and the seller is. Okay, knowing the FISBO market is a great thing, because most of the time you're not going to go up against competition. Knowing the new home inventory, you know, go on those tours with Marie Polo, okay, from the Tampa office. They are new construction experts. Whenever you have a buyer looking in a certain price range, call them with what they're looking for and let them know what the buyer's looking for, and they can match it up if there's anything available with new construction. Okay, most of the time new construction will win over resale. They might have to alter their location goals, but a lot of people will alter their location goals to get a new house. Does that make sense? So think out of the box, find different ways of accommodating buyers to limit the possibility that they're going to make offers and lose, make offers and lose, make offers and lose.
Especially since people are working at home.
Yes, for sure, for sure. So just think strategically. Okay?
Gary, can I just put in a word on that?
Sure, John. Go ahead.
I spoke to Deborah Molina with Marie Polo over there. I had a need, and for the first time, a new home need, and I contacted them a couple weeks ago, and it was a wealth of information, and I feel like a new home expert now, just having spoken to those two women for 30-40 minutes on a couple occasions. It was amazing. I was as long as I've been in the business, 25 years, I was intimidated by the new home process. Plus they're mostly in Tampa, but I was ignorant to what a resource that is. Just call them. They can teach you about new homes in a very short period of time. You'd be amazed at the information they have and how they can relay it to where I felt like an expert a quasi expert after talking to them.
Thanks, John. Well,
and they're amazing. They're so amazing. I can't say enough nice things. John, I did the same thing a couple weeks back, and oh my God, they're so helpful and they are amazing.
That's their specialty. That's their specialty, and that's all they do. And they have relationships with pretty much every builder in our community, in all 4 or 5 counties. So if you have a question about that, get involved with it, right? Okay. Next, Hammer. Mythbuster. This is great. It's better to get pre-approved after you find a perfect home to buy. No, not true. Always start with your lowest offer when buying a home. This would be a great thing to send to your database. Okay, they'll educate them on what's important to do. You guys can read that. I'm not going to read that too. Let's get to the data. You guys want to hear the data?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. FISBOs, REOs in Pinellas County. There's only 7 active as of yesterday. 7 active REOs in Pinellas County. There were 13 in February. 16 sold and closed in March. The 1.03 means that those 16 that sold averaged selling at 103% of list price, which means the list price was a starting point. Okay. The highest sale sold at 45% above asking price. That's our 1.45 under max means. Okay. The absorption rate went from 92.3% up to 228.6%. The month supply dropped from a 1.1 month supply to a less than a half a month supply of inventory for foreclosures in Pinellas County last month. That's an intensely strong seller's market. Okay, short sales, almost non-existent. There's only one active short sale on the market right now. And for you new agents, a short sale is when the mortgage is worth more than the house. Okay? 2 properties sold and closed. They took 154 days to get to closing. What does that mean? The bank gets to decide what the selling price is going to be. So banks can be slow or relatively slow or relatively fast. Normally it's 120 days on average, but those 2 that closed took 154 days to get to closing, which means the bank took 120 days, approximately 110 to 120 days, 3 to 4 months to give the buyer an answer as far as whether the price that the seller accepted would have been acceptable to them. And that's the downside of short sales. Only a half month supply like last month. Here we go. Non-distressed, which is where we are, live and breathe. Right now, non-distressed inventory is at 1371. In February, it was 1544. Last March, it was 4459. So right now in Pinellas County, there's 3,088 fewer listings than there was last year at this time. That's a 69.3% drop in active inventory. Meanwhile, sales are at 2,518. Look at almost double the amount of sales as there are actives. Last March, there were 2,027 sales. So in March this year, there are 491 more sales with 3,088 less listings. That's a 24.2% increase in number of sales year over year in March. Those 2,518 sold at 99% of list price on average. The absorption rate already over 100% last month went up to 183.7%, or a half month supply of inventory for the month of March, which means it's an intensely strong seller's market. Okay, next page. I just track, I do this to track actives, pendings, and solds in all categories. You know, all the categories in the MLS or residential, you know. So they involve auction, REO, short sales, and non-distressed, okay? And you see inventory drop from 1,560 to 1,389. Look at all the pendings. Pendings are between 2 and 3 times more than actives, which is why I suggested you search the criteria for your buyer that you're looking for, not just actives, but check pending, expireds, and withdrawals, and call listing agents to find out if their deals are solid. Okay, 3406 pendings means that April is going to be a good month closing. Look at the number of sales increase, 1938 to 2536. All right, next page. Pasco County. 14 actives, REOs, 17 sold. In Pasco County, those 17 that sold at 108% of list price. So anybody that wants to look at foreclosures because they think they can steal them, all you need to do is show them these pages and let them see that they're selling at 108% of list price on average. The absorption rate went up from 91.7 up to 121.4, or a 0.8 month supply of inventory, a little bit over 3/4 of a month, a little bit above 3 weeks inventory, amount of inventory. Short sales, again, in Pasco, pretty much non-existent. Only 2 actives, 4 sold. They only took 85 days to get those closed, but there's only 2 of them, a half a month supply of inventory. Now, non-distressed in Pasco, Only 656 active listings for non-distressed properties. Last March, there were 2,465. That's 1,809 fewer listings, or a drop of 73.4%. Meanwhile, sales went up from 1,240 last year to 1,534, or an increase of 294 sales, or a 23.7% increase. That means the market got stronger for sellers year over year significantly. The list to sales price ratio is 99%. The absorption rate went up to 233.8%, or a less than half month supply, a 0.4 month supply of inventory for non-distressed properties in Pasco. Again, it's an amazing time we're in. We look at, again, look at pendings and compared to actives. Again, more than 3 times. More than 3 times more actives in Pasco, more than 3 times more pendings in Pasco than actives. And sales jumped up also. We run to Hillsborough. Only 12 active REOs. Now, to give you a perspective, and I said this before, some of you are new on this call. So, 10 years ago, maybe longer than that, I don't even know the exact dates, but inventory for REOs in Hillsborough is running over 900 active listings, pretty consistent. Right now, there's only 12 active foreclosures. That's a good thing. 17 sold. They sold at an average of 101% of list price. And the month supply of inventory stayed at 0.7, less than 1 month supply of inventory. Short sales, there's more short sales in Hillsborough than Pasco and Pinellas combined. There's 9 active, 6 sold, a 1.5 month supply of inventory. Sorry for my chicken scratch down there, I made a mistake. It was 1.6 month in February. And in non-distressed in Hillsborough, here we go. 4,674 last March, only 1,262 right now. So there's 3,412 fewer listings, or a 73% drop in non-distressed properties. Meanwhile, sales went up by 425, or 18.4%. And non-distressed properties, I think in all 3 counties, sold at 99%, maybe 98 in Pinellas, but I forget. But 99 in Pasco, 99% of list price in Hillsborough, or a half month supply of inventory. What are your thoughts? And again, and the next page we see, there's 3.5 times more pendings than there are actives. And that's simply because houses don't stay on the market. They go under contract overnight, very quickly, right? Any ahas, any questions, any thoughts? Okay, let's keep moving. We're going to go through these quick, Tamara. See the 1778. This is the active inventory, all sources of listings combined. You see any number on that 5-year history higher than that? I mean, lower than that? So what I'm pointing out is the 1778 is the lowest amount of inventory in the last ever. It's ever. Okay. Meanwhile, we look at the sales, and do you see any higher number than 2471? No. Right. So at the same time, we had the lowest amount of active inventory. We had the highest amount of sales in Pinellas County in the month of March, which is, again, a 0.72 month supply of inventory, a very strong seller's market overall in Pinellas County. Now, the next page is cool because if you're interested in calculating month supply and absorption rates, you have the data to do that, because here is the active inventory at the top half of the page by price class, and the number of properties that sold in any given month at the bottom half in all price classes. Okay, now you can see even, let's look between a 900 and a million. There's 37 actives, right? How many sold? 25. Does everybody see that? So 25 out of 37 sold in the month of March. And that's the only month supply above 1. That's about a 1.5 month supply. Now, if you look, well, I'm sorry, it's not the only one. 8 to 900 is well, it's a little bit below 1. Look, because 46 sold and 45 were for sale. Look at 7 to 799, 68 sold. There's only 47 for sale. So if you look up and down, you'll see that there's more properties that sold in most price, in almost all the price ranges than are active, which is unheard of. Okay, skip the graph. We'll go to the Pasco. Again, 875 active listings for March. You see any lower number? No, it's the lowest amount of active inventory in history. Meanwhile, the number of sales. You see anything higher than 1451 on this list? Oh, I do. I found one. July last year, there were 1456. Okay, still the lowest amount of active inventory, the second highest amount of sales. Mind-boggling. 0.6 month supply of inventory. Let's skip to Hillsborough. Again, 1609 is the lowest number on the page. At the same time, there's 2,611 sales. 0.62 month supply of inventory. So in our marketplace, all 3 counties are under a 1 month supply of inventory. Pasco, Pinellas is at 0.72, Pasco is 0.6, and Hillsborough is 0.62. It's a very, very strong seller's market. Okay, any thoughts, any questions, any ahas?
Hey, Gary, I have an aha. We can preach all day long that it's a seller's market, but there's something about a colorful graph that you put in front of somebody and you pretty much don't have to talk anymore and just let them think and process and say, does it make sense now for you to sell? And really, what other choice do they have?
Right.
So it's not just us talking and preaching. It's okay, when you know of realtors putting their own properties on the market, this is why.
Yeah, great stuff. Exactly. Again, like I said earlier, it's the greatest time in history to sell, and we have the fewest amount of listings. Mm-hmm. And it's a great time in history to buy too, because affordability is so strong. Even with prices going up, affordability is still great because interest rates are still low. But the fact that they've gone up a half point, which I really wasn't aware of, I just found that out when I was preparing for Mastermind, a half point since January. That's another reason why buyers are getting off the fence. We knew a few years ago, the highest amount of inventory we had was the last quarter, like November and December and January a few years ago when interest rates were pushing 5%. Okay, so if interest rates start pushing 4 and 5%, the intensity of the seller's market will lighten up a little bit. Okay, but that's we still have to wait to see that. Okay, but right now we're in the throes of a very strong seller's market, which is great for sellers. It's tough to get inventory, but stay on those for sale by owners. I just armed you with a lot of information that you could use to try to help list those FSBOs, and because they're leaving money on the table. There's just no doubt about it. Because what they're not doing is having a bidding war, and if they have one, they don't know how to operate it to get the most money they can possibly get. Does that make sense? All right. Next, camera. Let's do the last two pages. Okay, I figured I'd close with these things to share with you these, and hopefully something here hits home with you and helps you. Number one, make peace with your past so it won't disturb your future. Number two, what other people think of you is none of your business. That keeps life pretty simple, doesn't it? 3, the only person in charge of your happiness is you. 4, don't compare your life to others. Comparison is the thief of joy. 5, time heals almost everything. Give it time. 6, stop thinking so much. It's all right not to know all the answers. And 7, smile. You don't own all the problems in the world. And your smile can lighten other people's lives as well as your own. And last but not least, take a look at this. What do you see?
That's a good one.
I've shared this, I don't know how long ago in this mastermind, but it's so appropriate. Okay. There's challenges out there. There's always going to be challenges, no matter what market we're in. But so many people give up when they're just about ready to hit the diamonds, you know? So don't ever, 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 ever give up. There's only 2 ways to fail. One is to not start something that you're passionate about. And the other is to, after you do start something you're passionate about, to stop. You never, ever stop. Okay, you're going to go through discouragement. This poor guy is all beaten up. He just struck the gold. I mean, he struck that dug a little bit longer. I mean, he's going to be the happiest guy in the world. And that's what you don't know, is what's on the other side. It's a test of your faith and your mindset every single day. Okay? But you can do this. Hang in there. Thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you, Gary.
We'll make it a great month.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you very much.
Tamara.
Thank you so
You're the
much.
best. I couldn't do this without Tamara. Thanks, honey.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Bye, guys. Nice seeing
Great
you.
month.
Bye-bye.